What's going on, YouTube? Today, I bring you my prediction for Super Bowl 55. I'm really excited for this one. I think it's going to be pretty good. You've got the face of the future NFL versus the face of the past NFL, for 20 years. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, comment down below, what you think the score is going to be. And yeah, let's get straight in. So starting off with the Chiefs, so we're going to be looking at, the ways they're going to win, what some potential weaknesses may be, and what are their X factors. So starting off with the ways to win, one big way that the Chiefs are going to win, even though obviously they're a very pass-heavy team and win dominantly with the pass, they need to establish a run game. It's always important to establish a run game. That naturally makes the pass game easier, of course. But I think it's more important in this game, especially too, because the Buccaneers have a very good pass rush, and the Chiefs, if you actually look at one of their weaknesses, is that they have some offensive line injuries. Eric Fisher is officially out, so they're down to their back, their second string tackle there, which I think is like Yasser Durant is his name or something. Or they have a few other guys, but so that's obviously a big blow to them. And they already had a few guys on the inside out since the start of the season due to COVID and all that. So when you look at a team like the Bucs that have such a good pass rush with guys like Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Ndamukong Suh, which I still can't say properly, Vita Vea, and then not to mention Devin White and Levante David are also, they can be contributors to the pass rush as well. So they have a very deadly pass rush. So when you're able to establish the run game, it gets them thinking more about am I necessarily going for the pass rush here? Obviously, am I trying to defend the outside? It makes them double think, and it's important to get that established. So hopefully Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who you can see is one of my X factors, can get that going for them. And Darrell Williams also had a really nice postseason as well. But that is definitely a key factor to them winning. The second thing is they need to get pressure on Brady. Now, it's a hard task to get pressure on Brady, especially when you put him behind an offensive line like that with the weapons he has. If you look at it, besides the fact that he has Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette to possibly throw to, you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller, and then obviously Rob Gronkowski. He's not used very often, but O.J. Howard too. And then again, the offensive line is just very good as well. If you're going to want to beat a team like the Buccaneers with Brady mantling that helm, you have to get pressure on him, which again is not an easy task with that offense around him. But I can trust Chris Jones to, maybe get back there, especially since their right guard, Alex Kappa, I'm pretty sure, it's either him or Ali Marpet, they're out right now with injury. So they are down one guy. And so that might make it a bit easier for Chris Jones, but the Chiefs definitely need to get pass rush on Brady, get some pressure if they want to win, because otherwise, obviously the Buccaneers have a somewhat good running game too, but if you can get pressure on Brady, it's going to help you out a lot. And the third thing is the next man up mentality that they really need to, get, because again, like I said, the offensive line is dealing with some injuries right now. I know the cornerback room is dealing with a little bit of injury, but really it's just about stepping up. If the starter's out, the next guy's got to come up and just play the hardest he can. Whoever's going to start at tackle in place of Eric Fisher, they are going to have their hands full of Jason Pierre-Paul. That's going to be a big job, but if they can get that done, it's going to help the Chiefs out a lot. So they've really gotten to ingrain that next man up mentality, and just, doesn't matter who you are, you just need to play your hardest, But looking at some weaknesses for the Chiefs, one I've already, talked about is the offensive line injuries. It's pretty concerning because, like I said, the Buccaneers have a very good pass rush. So if you take some talented guys like, Eric Fisher out, it's going to be tough on you. But that's also why Patrick Mahomes is an X factor to me, because Patrick Mahomes, I think this game is going to show that he doesn't need an elite offensive line to be the quarterback he is. And that's what makes him so freaking good. Like, even if they're going to be in his face all game, he's going to make the throws. He's going to make the incredible throws. He's going to extend the plays. He's going to escape the pocket. He's a magician, so I think that's why he's an X factor. But, The offensive line injuries is something to definitely be concerned about. And the other thing is, how good is Steve Spagnuolo? Because if you look at the Chiefs defense on paper, it's not the best. They really don't have any decent to elite linebackers. On the defensive side of things, they have Chris Jones, which is obviously one of my X factors because that man's he's a single person wrecking hammer. He single handedly carries that defensive line a lot of the time. So he's an X factor. But besides him, there's really not anyone else. Frank Clark's pretty overrated in my opinion. At the cornerback room, L'Jarius Sneed's been fantastic as a rookie. They have guys like Bashad Breeland and a few other guys, but it's really just, I think, a huge credit to why they play so well, especially in the postseason, is Steve Spagnuolo. Quite maybe the most underrated coordinator in all of football, because I think he should be majorly credited with guys performing the way they do, like Juan Thornhill and some of their linebackers like Willie Gay. At points they've performed pretty well under him. So I think another big weakness is potentially if Steve Spagnuolo can't get this defense going against the Buccaneers offense, it's really just going to be up to the Chiefs to keep up, which is not a job they have to do very often. But this game might literally just come down to who scores first, So, those are my weaknesses and ways to win for the Chiefs. Now, if we go over and look at the Buccaneers, we're going to look at, some of the ways they can win, obviously, and that is also to establish the run game. Again, another team that for the most part is a pretty pass-heavy team, obviously, looking at their weapons and the type of protection that Brady gets and, of course, Brady himself. But they, too, also have to establish a run game in order just to keep the Chiefs' defense guessing, Although their passing offense is just as lethal as the Chiefs, it's still just important to get the run game going. And that might be a bit easier when you have a two-headed monster like Jones and Fournette, which are two of my X factors for this game. So I just think that's another important aspect, is they definitely need to get that going. Another thing is, don't let the Chiefs get going. We see it all the time in this playoffs and in the last playoffs. If you let the Chiefs start to get even a little hot, like if you feel just a little bit of heat, you better put that out as quick as possible, or you're gonna have a full-on fire in your hands. I mean, you saw last year the Bills were up by a ton. I think it was almost 20-3, I think, and Chiefs came back and just wrecked them. So it's very important to not let the Chiefs get hot, not even warm, because they will start a fire, and it's pretty scary if you let that happen. So they cannot let them get going. The other way to win for the Buccaneers is to expose the holes. Like I said earlier, with the offensive line, the cornerback room isn't necessarily the best. They're not going to generate the most defensive pressure. You have to attack the spots where on paper they're pretty weak. They have to make sure their pass rush is going at it. Like, that's why I show here Jason Pierre-Paul for JPP. He has to just dominate whoever's going to start at left tackle for them. He's got to be big for them, and another thing is that they need, I don't list it here, but they need their corners to show up. Sean Murphy-Bunting, which I saw, and that's a weakness I show here. And also my X factor is Sean Murphy-Bunting, SMB. If he shows up, that's great, because he's had a fantastic postseason. But their other two corners, Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis, just really haven't been there this postseason. They haven't been horrible, not Kevin King levels at all or anything, but they just haven't shown up in the way that Sean Murphy-Bunting has. And so if Sean Murphy-Bunting is the only cornerback that shows up, that could really hurt them, because, Sean Murphy-Bunting isn't the fastest guy in the world. The fastest guy on that Buccaneers defense probably is either Antoine Winfield or Carlton Davis, and even those guys are going to have a tough time keeping up with Tyreek Hill. But even if one cornerback does show up, you're still not able to be covering guys like Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins. They have so many other weapons. I trust Devin White and Levante David to do a good job at not only protecting the receivers, but Kelsey as well. Now, I also expect Kelsey to be a big issue in this game. I don't think David or White are going to shut him down. But that's another important thing, is definitely to, Travis Kelsey, keep track of him. And my last kind of concern for the Buccaneers is, can Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette actually get going against The Chiefs on pass defense aren't the greatest, but their run defense is actually very solid, especially with the guy like Chris Jones up front. You know, if the defense can get, that run game shut down for the Bucks, then obviously the Bucks have to turn to just their passing game, and then at that point it becomes a predictable game, and eventually you can shut that down as well while the Chiefs are scoring points every drive. So it's important for both these teams to establish the run game. They need to expose the weaknesses on each other, obviously, and there are just certain X factors. Jason Pierre-Paul, he needs to play out of his mind. Sean Murphy-Bunting cannot be the only corner to show up. Either Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette, or maybe even both, have to get something going. Tom Brady has to play well. Looking at the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes has to show why he's the greatest in the game right now. You need Chris Jones to stop Jones and Fournette, So there's a bunch of different things, many different ways the Super Bowl can go. I definitely see the argument for both sides. Regardless of who wins, I think this is going to be a very entertaining Super Bowl. But in the end, I do have the Chiefs beating the Buccaneers in the end, 31-27. On paper, the Buccaneers are the better team for sure. They have more experience. It looks more likely for them to win. But when you look at the Chiefs, they're a team that just kind of overcomes the most, defying odds. If Patrick Mahomes is out, the team still plays at a top elite level. If a key player is out, someone always steps up and takes their place, which is why I don't think the injuries are going to be too big of a concern. I don't think they're going to show too much. And just when you look at the two teams, sometimes what it honestly comes down to, especially in a game like this where two teams are so evenly matched, it could come down to coaching. Although I think, I would obviously take Andy Reid in a head-to-head match over Bruce Arians. But what I really think this game is going to come down to is just the heart of the players. Who wants it more? Does Tom Brady want his 7th Super Bowl ring, prove that he's not just a product of Bill Belichick? Does Patrick Mahomes want to prove that, they can win more than one Super Bowl? They'll go back to back. Both these guys kind of have something to prove and nothing to prove. Because Patrick Mahomes, we already all know the talent this guy is. Tom Brady, we already know the talent this guy is. Bruce Arians is looking for a Super Bowl before he retires. Andy Reid already got his. Of course, he wants more, but at the end of the day, again, I just think it comes down to the heart of the teams, and I just think the Chiefs play with more heart. I think they play harder, and I think what really helps in the end is the fact that I think a lot of teams really underestimate what the Chiefs defense can do, and Steve Spagnuolo always finds some way for them to just play out of their minds, especially in the Super Bowl. And again, we've seen what Patrick Mahomes can do to elite defenses, and it's just funny to me that, towards the end of the season and stuff, people start to drop on the Chiefs a little bit because they start almost losing close games, and, they start looking bad against bad teams, when in reality, it's because they're using trick plays and just testing out plays for the playoffs. That's how good the Chiefs are. While the Buccaneers were fighting for their playoff lives, and they may have more experience, I just think the Chiefs play with more heart, and I'm going to take the Chiefs here 31-27. But that is just my opinion. Let me know what you guys thought down below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment. Almost to 200 subs. That's going to be awesome when I hit it. Maybe we can hit it with this video. Who knows? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see all you dudes in the next video. Bye-bye.